Imagine you're building a house. You can use pre-made building blocks like walls and windows, or you can work directly with the raw materials like bricks and glass. In Solidity, the same concept applies to how you interact with the other smart contracts. You can use high-level calls, which are like pre-made building blocks, or low-level calls, which give you more control but require you to work with the raw materials. Low-level calls in Solidity allow you to interact with other contracts in a more flexible and direct way. They give you more control over how the call is executed, but they also require you to handle errors and security risks manually. Here's when low-level calls are useful. Interacting with contracts without an ABI. If you need to interact with a contract that doesn't have a publicly available application binary interface, you can use low-level calls to send data and execute functions directly. Fine-grained control over execution. Low-level calls gives you more control over the gas used, the data sent, and the return values received. This can be useful for optimizing performance or handling specific scenarios. Calling fallback functions. If you need to call a contract's fallback function, which is executed when no other function matches the call, you can use low-level call. However, low-level calls can also be dangerous. Unlike high-level calls, low-level calls do not automatically revert on failure. You need to manually check the return value and handle errors appropriately. This can lead to security vulnerabilities if not done correctly. Reentrancy attacks. Low-level calls can be vulnerable to reentrancy attacks where a malicious contract can call back into the original contract and manipulate its state. This can lead to loss of funds or other security issues. Code complexity. Low-level calls can make your code more complex and difficult to understand, increasing the risk of bugs and errors. So when should you use low-level calls? Use this sparingly and only when necessary. If you can achieve the same functionality with high-level calls, it is generally safer and easier to maintain. If you do need to use low-level calls, make sure you carefully handle errors, protect against reentrancy attacks, and thoroughly test your code.